are, and you can tell we're ready to go live when we've already got a very impatient person waiting for us. Good evening, Mr. NeddKnight. Hello. Good evening,
Hello.
Lyle, on the chat. Great to have you online. It is I, the Arty Dans, and this is Shockmania on a beautiful Sunday night in the US and a very cold Monday morning here in Australia. As you can tell, I am sick. So this is going to be a very fun live stream. Ned, how was your weekend?
Weekend was fantastic. Yeah.
Beautiful.
A lot of family time, a lot of outdoor projects. Like you said, we are cracking into late spring here in the States. And when spring and summertime hits, 99% of my time is spent outdoors.
Interesting. Over
and
here,
1% of it's spent here behind a camera talking to you about horror movies.
Well, we got a great episode lined up. Well, I think we do. First, we're going to talk about Final Destination Bloodline. And there may be some spoilers, Lyle. So I hope that you have seen it already. But we'll try not to talk about spoilers. Then we're going to talk about The House that Jack Built, which was Ned's recommendation. Then we're going to watch a trailer. Then we're going to talk about Zombie Ass, which was my recommendation. Then we're going to watch another trailer. Then Ned's going to introduce two more new movies. Thank you, Evan Almighty. Then we're going to do some just general chit chat. But I think, Ned, first you wanted to do a bit of a shout out for someone.
Yes. Yeah. So last show, we had our lone chatter, Kimba 94. Pretty sure it was 94.
94. Yep.
And he was, boy, I forget what country he said he was from. I think it was somewhere in the Middle East.
Saudi Arabia.
Saudi Arabia, yeah. So he gave us a recommendation because he said his favorite monsters were werewolves and to watch Bad Moon. And we did. Well, I did.
You did.
I did. And it's a movie that I'd seen once upon a time 30 years ago. And I just want to give a shout out back to Kimba 94 and let you know that that movie holds up. The movie was better than I remembered. And I think part of it was because I'm getting a little bit sappier in my elder years. And the movie actually centers around a dog. And the movie was built off of the book called Thor, which was told in the first person from the perspective of the dog. But the studios got a hold of it. They made it a classic werewolf movie, and it's a movie you're kind of cheering for. Now, the book has a different ending. The movie's a little bit happier ending. I think you can kind of know where the book takes it. Seeing the star as a dog, and I think it would have been a real tear tugger if the movie had taken it that way. But I gotta say one thing, Dan, the movie's got one phenomenal bit of dialogue between the brother and the sister right as a third act climax is about to begin that is truly terrifying for a movie from the early 90s. They pulled it off. The dude's in mid-stage werewolf and he's talking to his sister about what's about to happen, and I'm like, this is legit horror. So thank you, Kimba.
Awesome. Thank you, Kimba, for the recommendation. And if anyone else does jump on the chat, join myself, Ned, and Lyle while we are online, and we'll pop your messages up on the screen. But let's not waste any time. Let's go into the first movie of tonight, and it is Final Destination Bloodlines, the brand new movie in the Final Destination series. I am going to lay all my cards on the table right now, Ned, and say I fucking loved it.
Okay.
Yeah. You?
I will tell you that this is my favorite Final Destination movie. And it is also my first Final Destination movie that I've ever seen.
All right.
But
you
it's
had me going there for a minute.
My favorite of all of them that I've seen so far.
All right. Well, you really had me going there for a minute. I believe I've seen all of them, but I vaguely remember the Final Destination and Part 5. I love the first one until I looked up online and saw that its Rotten Tomatoes score was something like 40. And I'm thinking, surely I'm not wrong. Anyway, I don't want to talk about that Final Destination. I want to talk about this one. So what makes this one different to the previous ones is in the first 5 movies, the whole movie is premonitioned at the start. So if you watch Final Destination 1, Ned, you'll see that they get on the plane and she starts freaking out, or he starts freaking out about the crash that they're about to happen. And then he wakes up from a slumber. They don't make it on the plane. He watches the plane explode, and then death comes for them. This movie takes it in a different angle. In this movie, we get taken right back to I think it's the 50s. And we get this awesome intro with a couple going to a dinner date atop of a new Sky Tower restaurant. And the woman sees everyone die in the Sky Tower, including herself. What then happens is we're thrust 60 years into the future, or 50 years into the future, and a woman wakes up. This woman called Caitlin, what's her name? Caitlin Santawana, playing Stefani, wakes up, and she's the one who's had this dream of this woman, who she later finds out is her grandmother. And, well, death is still coming for everyone, but because there was supposed to be about 100 or 200 people who died in this event, that's come for them very slowly. And so this movie actually doesn't use the premonition as the basis for the film, but uses it as a kind of backdrop to set up the rest of the film. And that's what I loved about this. What about you?
So yeah, they use it almost kind of like lore.
Yes.
And they use it to set up the rules. Now, having not seen the movies, I'm not, unaware of Final Destination movies. In fact, I've not even seen any of them. I will often chide with my wife whenever she will, because she's very, a little over precautious, and I'm a little bit more on the reckless side of things. She'll say, hey, listen, if you don't put that leash on that tree, then that tree branch is going to fall down, whack you off the step ladder. You're going to fall down, crack your head in the brick, and then my son's going to come home, really has no father, and run away and never see him again. So I would always say she's got that Final Destination lens,
Yeah.
But yeah, so it looks like that premonition creates this lore, and then they try to set up rules. And I will say that I had a lot of fun watching this really dumb movie.
It is a dumb movie. Look, you have to suspend disbelief. The fact that a leaf blower could cause a rake to drop, a rake drop to cause a leaf blower, to cause a soccer ball to knock someone into a garbage bin that then gets collected by a garbage truck, then they get squashed. Like, the sequence of events is ridiculous.
It knows what it is. It knows it's all a Rube Goldberg type contraption, like Mousetrap, where one thing begets the other thing, and then they try to throw a little. And I'll tell you one thing, Dan. The part about this movie, I can go through the list of kind of the things that were really kind of rubbing me off in the wrong way. But it's the herrings that kept, basically, if you could imagine a world where now you just know that something's going to happen at any given time in any given manner, and you just see the banana peels, if you were, I'm being metaphorical, being thrown all over the place, and you're like. I mean, you reach a point where you just become, after about 20 minutes, I was numb to all of it. Like, all right, let's see what happens. Deliver me some goods. It's like it's a movie that just continual foreplays you.
Just to answer your question, Lyle, yes, they do have a dedication to Tony Todd at the end. And I have to say,
Tony Todd was one of my favorite parts of the movie.
Yeah. And really sad. It's a really sad part that he has in the film as well. I do like it, and I think what he says in the movie is quite. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
For that,
you know what I mean.
His last movie, and
yeah.
So Lyle, he has a small part in the movie, but it's probably the
very poignant.
Best. And it's poignant, and it's also in context of the movie. I found it to be the best dialogue. Even though it was expository, it was still the best dialogue.
Now, there's two things about this film that also made me absolutely love it. The first one was, and you're going to laugh at me, the use of CGI is actually excellent. I hate CGI blood and gore, but it works well in this film because it needs CGI to make it work, and it's excellent. the blood still looks fake. It still looks like a Mortal Kombat fatality, and then there's even a reference to Mortal Kombat in the movie as well. But this is the one time I will say yay to CGI blood because it is perfect. The second thing is there's only one unlikable character in the whole film. So usually these horror movies are full of awful characters that you hate.
Do we have the same one?
I wonder who you think it is.
I'm hoping it's the sister.
Well, she was kind of semi-unlikable. It's actually the little boy at the start because he's a real shithead.
Yeah, no, he was, but he kind of comes around a little bit.
Oh, if you think so, he gets killed.
Oh! You mean the kid in the needle?
Yeah, the coin.
The sky tower.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I wanted to kick him in the face.
Exactly. But everyone else in the movie, like the brother with the nose ring, he was cool. He was really cool. Yeah. The other brother who had the peanut allergies, cool.
He was a nothing burger. He was forgettable.
True, but I'm expecting awful characters because that's exactly what we normally get from teen horror movies, and we didn't get them in this film. And I want to commend the writers for that because that was really well done, that you've managed to keep my interest in the film with both CGI blood and no shitty characters. So thank you big time for that.
Yeah, so I will say that it's funny that you brought the CGI. So if I'm looking at your Shock Media catalog of movies with CGI, this one absolutely scores on the upper echelon of those movies in terms of how it incorporates CGI into it. And you're 100% correct. What we're trying to now, what studios are now looking to show you visually, a lot of it had to be theater of the mind type of stuff or just ridiculous bad, material effects because they couldn't deliver those kinds of effects back in the day. So now the studios are taking a little bit more leaps to try and push the boundaries of what ridiculous things they're going to show you as far as stunts.
Yeah.
So like you'll see a real stunt person doing something up until a certain point, and then they have to just, okay, we got CGI this right now because we're going to have a 99% fatality with these stunt people if we continue with this little event.
Unless it's Mad Max, of course. But yeah.
There you go. I was just thinking about the Furiosa movie. So exactly. You're reading my freaking mind, man. It's our full show. I thought, however, the volume was overkill. Like there were so many scenes where they were doing these pans and you could just see like the whole background was just completely,
Yeah, when she's driving over the bridge.
There was so much of it. Even they were just sitting there like with this backdrop behind them that they just wanted to make it like cinematic. And the camera doesn't want to wait for the light to be right, for it to be an actual on scene rolling. And I was really getting sick of the volume because you don't need to do that. I think that's just budget reasons, and they probably paid for, so they're going to use as much as possible. I didn't like that at all. Most of the CGI was fantastic. Some was Yeah.
The gore CGI was good.
For sure. But I loved it when it was the practical. And they have the death scene in the hospital. The back-to-back death scenes that was just phenomenal. And you're watching it unfold and you're going, this is so stupid. Like, come on, like, that thing is what's going to cause this machine to all of a sudden come to life, and it's going to have this kind of effect on all of its surroundings. And it was way too ridiculous how it got started up, and way hyperbolic for what it was actually doing. But at the end of it, I was like, okay, that was a great payoff. That was a great payoff.
I can tell you've never watched a Final Destination movie before because that scene is normal for the series.
I was okay with the trampoline rake lawnmower. That was fine with me. But I was like, I'm like in a hospital with machinery. That's when it gets a little. I'm like, that's not how that machine works.
I just like how it picked and chose which metal to drag to it.
100%. I know. And it was always like one at a time.
Yeah.
Like starting with the nose and working its way down. Is that
yeah.
Is that what's going on? Yeah.
Look, you're right, Lyle. Post 90s slasher films have unintentionally had unlikable characters to get killed because they think it believes 80s films were always unlikable. Yeah, I think with 80s films, they weren't unlikable. They were just badly acted. And that way they came across as unlikable.
Yeah.
In this film, you just don't get unlikable characters. And so thus every death that happens or near death that happens, I think, oh, see, I can see you nodding your head then, but even the deaths that do occur, I'm thinking, oh, because one of them shouldn't happen because he's not part of the bloodline, but does happen.
Yeah, right. I like that.
Yeah.
I like everything leading up to that. No, I did enjoy how that played out. And I got to tell you, the camera work was excellent. And the sound effects were excellent. I think the music effects were good. And I've also heard that apparently some of those, so it takes place in 1962 or something like that. And some of the music came like 1961 and the early stuff. That whole entire opening was just over the top ridiculous. But by the end of it, I was laughing. I was almost in tears laughing for that whole Sky Needle.
Good. That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And for anyone else who is wanting to see it, there is a great little homage to Final Destination 2 in the film with the log trucks. So you've probably seen the log truck advertising that's been going on. And that's always been a big thing from Final Destination 2, because that's one of the death scenes in that one where they're driving down a freeway. A log loosens up from the log truck. It bounces on the ground and goes shoo, right through the window. And you can see the homage at the end of the film.
It's unbelievable. So here's a bit of a spoiler. Like the boy with the penny. I love how that came around. I love how that old lady dropped the penny. As soon as that lady came around the corner to the lemonade stand, I said, "Oh, she's gonna drop the penny. I just know it." And like as soon as that penny hit the ground, I was like, "Go, penny, go, do it!" I'm like, if this I'm so far along in this movie that penny literally could have pulled out a knife and stabbed the actress with it. Abe Lincoln could have popped out of the penny and shot and machine gunned down the entire prom people. I would have been like, sure, why not?
I can see, Lyle. I'm sorry. I can see, Ned, that you love the film, regardless of what you say.
I had fun. I definitely had fun. I had fun watching the movie. I can't lie. I laughed out loud a bunch. And there's a lot of those moments where I was like, oh, come on, really? But even that was kind of funny because 11 had good payoffs.
And that's the fun of a Final Destination movie. Now, I notice there are a few other people online. Feel free to join in the chat and say hello to us as well. Don't be shy. Don't just sit there and watch. Just, join us and let us know what your thoughts are as well, along with Lyle. Lyle, I really think you should go and see Final Destination 2. Bloodline. Because I just loved it. I really, really did. And so I would give it 4 ghosts out of 5, believe it or not, because it's the fun factor. It's the absolute fun factor that you don't get from a lot of modern movies. And that's the other thing, actually, I wanted to say before we move off about Final Destination. A lot of people complain about big budget horror movies just being formulaic and going through the motions. But a film like this cannot be done without a big budget. And so a low budget film, they tend to always be your slasher films. They tend to always be your kind of, really run of the mill horror films. I have to say that don't denounce high budget films and horror films, because what we end up getting is actual genuine creative stuff like this. It's fun, it's enjoyable, and the budget helps it be that. So
New Line Cinema and Lionsgate, they're still, coming out with some good stuff. If I was to say one thing about big budget and studio movies, in fact, I told this to a friend yesterday. I feel that the horror genre is on the upswing. And
absolutely.
Dan, you and I have talked about this, off camera. There's some pretty quality looking horror movies that I'm keenly interested in this year. And I did enjoy Sinners, although I did a terrible synopsis of it.
Read that comment there.
Saw Sinners, really liked it. Yep. Great job. I really liked it a lot too. We got 28 years later, which the trailer is out of this park. And that means something because trailers have been god awful lately.
Absolutely.
There's the movie Weapons with Josh Brolin and
Yes.
Jennifer Garner. That looks very intriguing.
It does.
Although it's from the same team that brought us Barbarians, which is complete garbage. One of the worst horror movies I've ever seen.
No, it's not.
It's well, you and I can fight in the street afterwards.
All right, you'll have to take a plane here then.
To tell you how bad Barbarians is, I might consider it. There's one more movie I want to see. Oh, it's the movie with Dave Franco called Together.
Okay.
And that looks a little bit like another kind of body horror movie, much akin to the Coraline Farge type movies that she came out with, The Substance. And another movie that, I don't know, are we talking about The Ugly Stepsister today?
We weren't, but you can later on.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
If we're not going to talk about it, I just mentioned it here. That's another good body horror movie that I enjoyed.
Ugly Stepsister. All right. And Lyle is saying Primeval War. I don't know about that one.
Oh my God, look at it.
You've sent me a trailer. Sorry, Lyle. So that's wrapping up Final Destination. Now we're going to go on to the homework. And we'll start with the house that Jack built. The house that Jack built. I suppose, do I give the synopsis or do you?
Well, let's see. I'm happy to do it because then I'll give you the other one to do. But
yeah, let's do that.
So the movie is, and I'll say one thing. It's a very self-indulgent movie that takes place over the course of 7 acts. It was a 7 acts, I believe.
I only got to the third one.
Where Jack is, you see him in his earlier type of life. He is struggling. He's in a beat down truck, and you can tell he's just trying to get to make a way of things. You don't really learn a whole lot about Jack and his backstory, where he came from or who he is. All he knows is he's getting somewhere. He's got a suitcase, and there's a woman on the side of the road that her car broke down, and that he becomes kind of the reluctant person to help her out. And a couple things in their interaction, and this woman is played by Uma Thurman.
Which I couldn't believe until the end.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're watching it, and you're thinking, she sounds like Uma Thurman. She kind of looks like Uma Thurman, but it's not Uma Thurman, is it?
But it was.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And basically, it would seem that would be the genesis or the origin story of how Jack decides that he's going to kill people for a living, and he becomes a serial killer. And the movie takes you through, again, I started a while ago. I think it's maybe 5, 6, 7 acts. Please chat, you can correct me. Where each one of those is kind of a different part of his life as a serial killer. And it's almost, it gives you a little bit of a piece of kind of like the time of where he is. In terms, I think it starts in like the 60s and it takes him through the 70s into the 80s. The movie has a climax and a finale where he all throughout this movie he's having his inner dialogue with I forget the guy's name. Was it Clarence or Maurice?
Is it the psychologist?
I
thought it was a psychologist.
It's actually no. It turns out it's some kind of unknown. Like you think he's talking to his subconscious, or it could be the ending. He's actually, I don't want to give too many spoilers, but it goes really off the deep end, and he basically gets walked down into hell by this gentleman. Is that
what I missed? Okay.
Yeah, which was actually not my favorite part of the movie.
Oh.
But go ahead, Dan. Tell us why you could only get through 2 chapters or 3.
I like Matt Dillon, right? I really like Matt Dillon. And I also like the lady from Men in Black. He's wearing a giant Egger suit. I don't actually know her name, although it says it's Siobhan Hogan.
Mm-hmm.
So I made it past a bit where he kills her and then evades the police officer and then drags her body all the way back to his pizza store that he owns, that he doesn't actually operate. And then the rain washes away the blood trail, which I thought was actually quite funny.
Mm-hmm.
I think I got to the bit where the young Jack cuts off the foot of the duckling, and that was like I had enough. Like I couldn't.
Yeah,
I'm
that was the
a
hardest
fur
part.
baby. I'm a fur father, and I can't handle animal
Yeah.
stuff. So that was it. The movie felt like it's a typical Lars von Trier movie where just edit the fuck out of it, Lars. I don't need to know everything, and there was so much chaff in it. It needed it needed the opposite of Martin Scorsese's editor. That's what it needed. I can't remember that lady's name, but it needed the opposite of her to go through this film. And
this movie wasn't that long. I mean,
it wasn't that long.
Wasn't The Irishman?
No, but the monologues just kept going and going and going, and so much exposition that I felt I didn't need. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. If it comes at the end where the exposition actually comes into effect, I apologize. But yeah, I couldn't. Yeah,
so
I just tapped out.
Yeah, the movie is it requires some restraint for sure because I'd say visually you mentioned the duck, and there's also some actual pictures of like from the Holocaust that I just that was tough to see. Tough to see that those real images of death. I didn't care for those two scenes. Those scenes grabbed me. All the stuff that was fictitious in the movie I thought was fantastic. That second act with the woman from The Office, I thought was just so on point, perfect because it was so awkward, so uncomfortable. And you could tell, basically it was him doing his first foray as, I've decided to be a serial killer. How should I go about doing this? And you could tell he was just flopping all over the place. He made 1,000 mistakes. And then, like you said, the rain washed away the trail. When he was dragging her away and he left that trail, I'm like, okay, this is just, he's incompetent. And then it takes you where he becomes like an expert at it. And then you see after a while, he becomes sloppy on purpose. He starts to like almost be like flagrant with how he's going to and fro and dragging bodies all around. I'm not so certain which version I saw. It was on Shudder. Shout out.
Right. Yes, you've got this reoccurring thing where you need to shout out Shudder every episode. Yes.
But you're watching this evolution of this man who you see his first kill. You see, okay, I'm now a killer, and then he gets bad. He gets professional at it, and then at the end, he tries to be like he makes these masterpiece type kills. And the last one is almost like straight out of Saw. The way he's trying to recreate this single bullet shot where he's going to kill, there's like 7 dudes tied up with their heads all lined up next to each other. And he's lining it all up. And you can see, and he has to get back here, but he has to get he's ready to shoot him. And one dude's a military guy, and he says, "Sir, that's not the artillery shell you're looking for." And he goes, "You're right." So he had to go back to the store, return it, get a different artillery shell, and then get back. And then he has an episode on his way back where he has to kill someone else. He steals a police car. He leaves the police car with the sirens running when he runs back in. Spoiler alert. He runs back inside just so he can get this final thing done. And you're wondering, are the police going to be able to stop him from actually performing this kill? And it's a phenomenal final act. And that's as far as I'm going to take it. But you're right, Dan. It's way overly self-indulgent. However, it did enough to keep me captivated and glued. It is kind of like a Pulp Fiction-esque type, except where the timeline is sequential and not jumbled. Yeah. But the storytelling is very Tarantino-esque, but with, brutal horror.
Well, I don't do intellectual movies that well, as you can tell from my back catalogue of films. And as you can tell from the recommendation I gave you, that I certainly don't do intellectual movies.
Yeah, these are two different movies.
Very, very different movies. And actually, I think you'll be surprised by the recommendation I have for you at the end of this episode too, because
I'm excited.
I'm actually going to circumvent your expectation. So I can't rate The House That Jack Built. It's not fair for not viewing the entire film. But from what I saw of it, I appreciated some of the humor. I appreciated some of the thought behind it, but I couldn't handle the excessive exposition.
I got 2 words for you, Dan, that you missed. Boob wallet.
Boob wallet.
Boob
Well, that
wallet.
should have been in the first hour then. You don't wait for the
missed
good bit later on.
You missed seeing his boob wallet.
All right, well, I'll go and find the movie again and just scan through have a look at that bit and let you know next time we talk what I thought of boob wallet. It sounds like something in the movie that I gave you to watch, boob wallet.
Well, no, the problem is that when it happens in the house that Jack built, it's very subtle and quick. And you're like, is that what? Wait a minute, what? And the movie you gave me to watch, it's not subtle.
No. Lyle raises a good point. Does he ever finish building the house, and does he ever own it?
Yeah, so it's a house of corpses in his in the freezer locker.
Good old Rob Zombie reference, eh?
Yeah. That's what he's building.
So what would you give house that Jack built?
I give it 3. Oh yeah.
Okay.
It's a recommend, but it's like your perfect example. It's not for everybody. But I think if you can get into it, and if you can settle into a movie that's like that, I think it's a good solid movie. It's definitely something that you think about afterwards, and it's been a movie I've been dying to talk about.
Interesting.
So thanks for watching it.
No, I appreciate it, and thank you for the recommendation. I look forward to your second recommendation later today. Now, something that we also like to do here on our live show is to have a bit of a live reaction to a trailer. Now, this one, strangely, didn't come from Lyle. Lyle, how did you miss this one? This one came from Ned. Ned found this one. And
if I may, I have to give credit where credit is due, Dan.
Yep.
It came from another podcast that I enjoy, Film Threat. I actually caught on there, and I said, how did I not see this on Shockmania?
Because Lyle didn't find it, and I'm not having a go at you, Lyle. Definitely just because the other trailer we're looking at is from Lyle. So anyway, let's check this one out. And I believe I only watched the first 10 seconds of it, and I thought, we'll save it for the show. I believe it's from Thailand. So let's check it out. It's called Omukade. And subtitle.
You can come out now, Lieutenant. She's one of us.
เฉลยฝรั่งคนนี้เป็นใครทำไมต้องช่วยมัน
มันเป็นนายทหารคนสำคัญของฝ่ายเราต้องพาข้ามฝั่งไปพม่าให้ได้
เหมืองเนี่ยถูกขุดมาตั้งแต่รุ่นพ่อฉันละแต่มันเพิ่งถูกปิดไปเมื่อตอนเกิดสงคราม
Is there a path? We have to go through this mine to get to Burma.
พวกเราหายไปได้กันหมดอ่ะ
Did it say what the fucking is this shit?
I've never seen anything like that in my life.
เมื่อก่อนมันเป็นคนในเหมืองแต่ตอนนี้มันกลายเป็นตัวเหี้ยอะไรก็ไม่รู้
待ってください、隊長。奴に取り憑かっていいです。
Oh. So firstly, apologies to Lyle. Lyle says he did send it to me. So I'm sorry, Lyle. I didn't mean that. That was interesting.
Yeah.
That was interesting. Let me read out the synopsis. The story unfolds in a cursed mind where Japanese soldiers and their captives find themselves trapped. As tensions between enemies reach a breaking point, they are forced to confront a terrifying ancient monster lurking in the shadows. I will watch it because it's a creature feature. Even though that head exploding with the worm coming out of it looked very CGI and a little bit cheesy. It's down my alley, which is why I think both you and Lyle have given it me. Again, apologies, Lyle. I'm sorry. For this one. So, what do you think?
I'm all in on this. Got. So I think that the real life horror for me is spelunking, going deep, where there's no other light source except for what you have on your person. So this combines that element with, I guess, some kind of supernatural lore with a monster. So this has the potential to deliver. That said, we'll see.
So I just want to look up what an omukade is. It's obviously a Japanese word for something. It is a yokai in Japanese mythology. So there you go. It's a Japanese monster. It means giant centipede. Well, there we go. There you go. Answered all our questions in one quick Google search. Yeah, you're right. Lyle probably did slip through the cracks. So again, I apologize for that. I do tend to find the really juicy ones that Lyle gives me and put them on a list. Somehow I don't know how I missed that one. But that did,
credit to Lyle.
Yeah, well, that did look a lot of fun. What I'm not liking there is the English translation. I don't like it when they put way too much swearing in it, because I genuinely don't believe that a lot of people are using that much coarse language in films. So that's probably anything. That trailer looked to be very much tailored to a Western audience with the with some of the swearing in it. But graphically, I think they're onto something with it. And story-wise, that looks like a lot of fun. It'd be interesting to see how the Thai take on a Japanese kind of folklore. So that's not totally unheard of in Asian cinema, but certainly not a folklore tale that most people would know. So that does look like a bit of fun. Omukade is the name. I don't have a release date for it, unfortunately. And it does star one of the guys from Death Whisperer, if you've seen the 2 Death Whisperer movies. So there is a little bit of familiarity with anyone who does like Thai horror with that one. Ned, let's get on to the next film of the evening. And Jesus, I like this film. It is Zombie Ass Toilet. Oh, hold on. Where am I? This one. Hold on. Technical glitch. Hold on.
Probably for the better.
No. Hold on. I need to remove that one. See, this is why people have producers on these shows. Zombie Ass Toilet of the Dead. Now, since you did the house that Jack built, I will then give you the synopsis for this one. By the way, I bought this on Blu-ray when I was in China there was a little video store. This is hilarious when I say video store in China, because it was literally a whole shop full of pirated discs. And I was going through the Blu-ray section and I picked this up thinking I will never watch this film, but I'll get it anyway. Hey, Ned, look who's jumped on the stream.
Hey, Kimba. Yeah, Kimba, I gave you a shout out earlier in the show. You'll have to watch it afterwards.
Excellent. So this is Zombie Ass Toilet of the Dead. Was my homework for Ned. So I'll give a quick rundown about it. What we do is we're following a young girl called Megumi and a handful of her friends. One of the girls is a model and hears about a tapeworm that she can eat that will keep her constantly skinny. So they go on the hunt for this tapeworm and she finds it, only it gives her a severe bout of diarrhea. On the way to going to an outdoor toilet so that she can relieve herself, she shits on a zombie living in the toilet, and the zombie then comes after her and Megumi and their friends. They then find solace in a lab house lab where a guy has his daughter kind of chained up and is experimenting on her. And while the zombies are still hunting them down, a lot of other very weird Noburo Iguchi shit happens, revolving around a ending with a girl with wings. Now, I'm going to struggle with the ending. A girl with wings fights Megumi, who has her breasts out, using a jetpack powered by Farty. Tell me that doesn't sound awesome. Come on, Ned. Tell me that doesn't sound awesome.
So, okay, I'll tell you what I liked about the movie.
Everything.
I liked, first of all, there was the Asana Mamuro. I was hoping that was going to be the final character you were talking about.
Okay.
Still, she was quite striking. It turned out that she ended up being the host of the Queen Tapeworm zombie. So this is kind of like a bit of a sort of zombie / monster creature, alien, mutant lab type of situation at the end. But the point is, the point doesn't matter. This is the most like imaginatively horrific kind of exploitation film you could conjure. There was parts of that movie, particularly with this very stunning Asani Mamoru, when she was in the bathroom, that I had a hard time watching, because I felt like there are some people watching this who are way too excited because this kind of fits into some kind of weird nugget of fantasy land for some people.
Are you talking about the weird shower scene in the middle of the movie?
Oh no, that was odd too. That kind of came out of nowhere. But I'm thinking to myself, there's someone that has this kind of like bathhouse diarrhea fetish.
Oh.
And all I could think of as I was watching this movie, I'm like, this was not made for me. That's what I'm thinking. I pushed through the movie, no pun intended, because there's a lot of like irritated people, like irritated bowels, irritated throwing up. All that stuff is happening. There's excrement literally everywhere in this movie. And I'll give it another positive. Some of the zombie kills were really good. I found that most of the zombie kills were pretty bad. But some of them were pretty clever. The one that was the pole that went through the two zombie girls, because the way that some of these zombies are fighting is they're in this crab stance, and they're, as you could imagine, I mean, it's in the title of the movie, they're using weapon from their keister, and they're basically on all fours, moving in such a manner that they can projectile at you. For sure, Lyle. Yes. Gauge side yourself up with some potato chips and a big thing of pads of rectal pads when you watch this movie. It's a tough one to get through.
It's not a tough one to get through. It's hilarious.
And then I did also like Yuki, the guy who played Yuki. He was like the Jim Carrey of Japanese horror. He was a cartoon character on screen. His facial reactions and how he was responding to everything was a true treat to watch. He was probably my favorite part of the show. That's all that I really want to say about this movie.
Fair enough. It has one of my favorite Japanese actresses in it, Asami. She's actually an adult video star, but she actually does a lot of films with Iguchi and Nishimura and Takasakaguchi. So she does a lot of these splatter films. She's in all the Lust of the Dead films. And she plays it is a blink and miss moment, unless you know what she looks like. She plays one of the zombies that does the crab walk with the tapeworm that sticks out of her ass towards the end of the film. So I've actually interviewed a guy who worked a lot with Asami, and he reckons that she is just a great actress in real life, very funny, and a very friendly, warm person, and some of the stuff that she does on screen is literally for art only, I would guess. Now, you might say this is not art, but when I see a half-naked woman flying in the air with a farting jetpack, that's down my alley. So I'm the guy that is in hysterics with Blazing Saddles, and Eddie Murphy's the Nutty Professor. So it gives you an idea of the kind of things that make me laugh. And to see an attractive, skinny, young girl farting like that, and this is not the strangest Nobuto Iguchi movie either, by the way. Now, Lyle said to me, but Marinier was too weird. Yes, because in Marinier, like it's very low budget, it's very quickly edited, and it's like a very long story condensed. This has just one premise, and that's it. And so it feels weird from an outsider, but it kind of makes a lot of sense when you watch it. And it's funny because Kimber goes, I liked everything but the farting. I liked everything, including the farting. So that's just me. Yeah. Anyway, I will always recommend this movie to anyone who wants to watch something different Japanese, who wants to know how weird Japanese can get. I would say go watch this.
Did you need this movie to know that?
No, but a lot of people will watch stuff like Tokyo Gore Police and go, oh, that's really weird. And I think, no, you've got no fucking idea. Tokyo Gore Police ain't weird. It's crazy. It's a bit strange, but it's not weird. This is weird. And when you watch the 5 Lust of the Dead movies, you'll probably hate me forever.
When I watch it, huh?
Yeah, when? Because I have to warm you up for those ones. I don't think I can just dump them straight onto you.
Yeah.
So
says the guy who didn't get through the house that Jack built, but you want me to get through 5 of those movies.
You can't give me intellectual movies. I just can't handle it. Like I said, the funny thing is
with this one.
The funny thing is, the recommendation I've got for you, it might be intellectual. So it just depends on which one you pick. Now, what would you give the film?
Okay, so I invented my poop emoji meter before this movie came out. Not before the movie came out, but before you had me watch it.
Yep.
So this would score on my poop emoji. I'd give it probably 3 poops. Sorry, Dan.
3 poops?
3 poops out of 5. Yeah. It's not a total car wreck, but it's to put it kindly, I found it off-putting.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's not for everyone. Yeah. Lyle, you raised a question. Holy Mother. Yes, that's a new Yoshihiro Nishimura film coming. It's actually not new. It's actually from a couple of years ago, but it's new in the sense that it's finally getting an English subtitled version, and it's finally getting a wider Western release, which is really weird that a Nishimura film would take this long to come out. But yes, keep an eye out for Holy Mother, because that does look great. Now, we're going to move on to another trailer.
Cool.
This one is definitely from Lyle. So 100% give Lyle all the credit for this one. And Ned, unless you know the film, you'll know pretty sure shortly after the trailer starts why I picked it for this episode. And I'm wondering whether Lyle has an idea about what I've picked. Actually, before I start, I'm going to ask you quickly, Lyle, do you have any idea which trailer I have picked for us to watch? And there's a clue in the fact that the person in this trailer has been in one of the movies that we've talked about tonight. So I'm wondering whether I might give Lyle another couple minutes before we start on. And while we do that, I might just record the intro so for when I cut it later. So, Ned, we're about to look at another trailer now. This time, it's a movie that comes courtesy of Lyle, who is just desperately typing up to see if he can remember which film it is. So I'm going to start the trailer now.
Let's go.
Let's enjoy it. Always good when it's full moon.
Can't you take a break? Do you always have to study?
Not if I want to be the best.
Now where are you going?
Remember that experiment I was telling you about? Can't do this without you.
Allow me to introduce the Cutters Club. We are a small, gifted group of surgeons.
What is this Cutters Club anyway?
Why? Art, of course. Would you like to see what we are sculpting?
Amazing.
What the hell are you doing? I need you down here now. You can't listen to any of those nasty rumors. Don't you run away from me.
What is it?
Don't think for 1 minute that I don't know what you're up to.
My masterpiece.
Fuck you!
Don't think of this as dying. Think of it as born again. As the ultimate triumph of the Cutters Club.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna guess when the 1998.
Well, here's where it gets tricky. It's a lost film. So while you may be correct, it actually has a 2025 release date next to it because it is now finally being released. So Full Moon, I don't know whether Full Moon actually were the original producers behind it or they've just picked this up out of nowhere. It says Charles Band is the director, and I'm pretty sure Charles Band is the guy behind Puppet Master. Well,
that would
behind
track.
Behind a lot of weird stuff. So yes, this is getting credited as a 2025. Now, what I don't like about it is it does seem to be taking advantage of Tony Todd, and his recent passing, because as you can see in the movie, he does look very, looks very much like he did
A little more
close to
healthy.
Candyman.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So what's it about? A pair of young doctors get involved in a secret society of surgery fetishists and monster makers called the Cutters Club, overseen by the maddest of doctors. Creatures, carnage, mayhem, and macabre malpractice combined in this maniacal movie, brought back from the brink of oblivion to take its rightful place as Todd's fevered cinematic swan song. How's that for a synopsis?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's talk about poignant.
So it is very late 90s with the puppeteering.
I feel like they put in that synopsis this, recently.
That is a very recent synopsis.
Yeah. I think that's poor.
It is. And I wouldn't put it past Full Moon to do something like that. But then again, I have enjoyed Full Moon movies in the past, with Head of the Family being my particular favorite, and still waiting for the sequel, Bride of Head of the Family, to come out. Although apparently it is out, but I haven't seen it anyway. What do you think of that? It looks cheesy 90s and probably not something I want to see. But what do you think?
I'd say that having seen Final Destination Bloodlines, it kind of left me wanting a little bit more Tony Todd. But then I'm watching that movie and I'm like, do I want to see Tony Todd acting like this?
Yeah.
So I think I almost would want to preserve the memory of Tony Todd in his Final Destination form as his brooding man with gravitas, and not the maddest of doctors.
The maddest.
Whatever that's supposed to be.
Dr. George Roberts is the name.
The most maddest.
Now, Lyle has raised a good point. There was a werewolf movie trailer a few months back, and since we have the Werewolf Master online in Kimber94, he will know the exact title of that werewolf movie trailer. And Kimber's also said it looks like a Puppet Master parody, and I think that's because the director is behind the Puppet Master series of films. So that would be the exact reason why it does look like a Puppet Master film. Certainly he's using those same practical effects, but it does look very mid-90s, late 90s kind of film. It would make no sense why that was ever shelved, because if I look back to late 90s, early 2000s, we're talking still about the height of the VHS rental boom, where people were still renting stuff like this. the beginning of the DVD craze where people were just wanting anything on DVD, and most likely the kind of introduction of a lot of very niche broadcast channels on cable television that would have eaten something like this up. So for this to not have been released is very strange. So it sounds like a contractual possibly argument there.
Probably a tighter profit margin with them being able to sell this rights out to streaming services as opposed to having to produce physical copies.
And absolutely. And right now, the same thing. I know Full Moon runs a channel on Tubi that they can pump this out on, although admittedly, they're heavily cut on Tubi. Dark Angle was the best film. No. Head of the Family is the best film that Dark Angle did.
Have you seen the Primevals? That's the stop motion movie, right, Lyle? Yeah, that was interesting. I'm not sure. I don't know if I like that movie, but it was interesting. I appreciated the swing.
Fair enough. Well, no, it's not a film that I am familiar with. So that was The Cutters Club. As always, let us know what you think of the trailer by using the thumbs up and thumbs down, or pointing at the screen. Also works. Let's go on to Ned's presentation. I believe we're calling it Cubic Zirconias.
My Cubic Zirconias.
Yes.
Back in the 80s, I would watch tons and tons of movie commercials that would interrupt all the creature features I was watching. They would be selling us all the latest and greatest, most beautiful, elegant cubic zirconia, 100% pure cubic zirconia rings and such. Because these sure ain't diamond. Last week I gave you some cubic zirconias that I really liked, but I wanted to kind of hop in a little bit of a different direction because you had put out a video about a week ago with some real sort of bad but good gore chop fest type movies. And I said, okay, I know just the two I wanted to talk about, particularly the second one. But the first one that I want to share with you is kind of poignant because it is it can come at you with almost looking like it's exploitative. But this movie was originally released and called Horror Planet. It's a British movie. And this is the director's cut, which they retitled as Inseminoid. And you can tell me which you think is a better title, Inseminoid or Horror Planet.
Oh, Inseminoid for sure. For sure.
So what this movie basically is, and I'll give you the quick synopsis of it. What we have here is it's a frozen planet in the future. All right, that's the extent of the details they give you. So, frozen planet in the future. A team of 12 Xeno Project archaeologists and scientists are excavating the ruins of an alien civilization. They discover a cave system containing wall markings and crystals of unknown origin. And during one of the surveys, a mysterious explosion cripples some of the explorers. And what ensues is, well, horror, alien. Basically, what this movie is that almost like, you know, how sometimes they come up with movies that have, they come to the screenplay and they pitch it to a bunch of different studios. And I'm not saying this is what happened here. And we'll get movies like Deep Star 6 and then Leviathan. Or you'll get like, you know, shark movies running concurrent. So someone went to Ridley Scott and said, hey, make this movie. And he made Alien. And then they went to this British guy and said, hey, make this. And he made Horror Planet. Alien is a masterpiece. This is not. This movie is if you went to the BBC and gave it to some people who were making Doctor Who TV episodes and said, hey, can you guys pause a Doctor Who episode and make this movie? Everything on the set, the acting is all super over the top. And listen, no knock on Doctor Who. I like Doctor Who from back in the day. But, I mean, it is what it is. The actors in this movie are all completely styrofoam. It is so hammy. And the main actress is, She tries to give off menace, and she is anything but. There is some pretty neat, nifty little gore scenes in there. There's one point where there's a scientist very early on when that explosion takes place, and she gets pinned by a pipe. And there are people who can see her through camera, and they're like, we're going to send someone to get you. She's like, we don't have time. And she takes this electric saw and begins to hack her own ankle off. And she doesn't make it. She ends up dying while she's halfway through her ankle. And I'm like, good on this show. I did not expect that to go that way. There is a scene. Basically, what happens is the alien sexually molests this blonde woman that you see here. And they do their best they can with this guy in a suit to show a horror monster rape scene, which wasn't that foreign back in the days of creature features in the 60s and 70s, particularly the Filipino type of movies. And that scene where they show how he inseminates this woman is unbelievable. It's worth the price of admission just to see. Talk about, like, if you thought Ask Zombies was kind of like, what am I watching here? I give you Inseminoid.
What's going on in that poster?
When she gets the big bad alien guy basically takes off. When she gets inseminated, it takes over her mind, and she now becomes this craved killer. She's like a psychotic killer, which is probably a great way for them to save huge swaths of budget to say that now she becomes the killer of the movie. And it's just ridiculous, the action, because you don't believe any of it for a second. Is she super strong? Yes, no. But she ends up giving birth, and that's what you see. And the scientists rescue the baby, and the remaining scientist runs out. One of them runs out to try and confront her. When he returns, the baby has consumed the woman he gave to care for the baby.
Right. This one's not winning me over. Not like Blood Beach last week, which I watched and loved, by the way. This one's not winning me over. Sorry.
No. I'm not trying to sell this movie on you. I'm just trying to tell you, I watched this movie, and this movie exists.
Oh God! It's a movie, as you would say. Yeah.
No, this is a terrible movie.
Oh.
But it's a movie worth talking about.
Yeah, fair enough. And that's what this channel's for talking about movies like this. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not everything I watched in the 80s was good.
Oh.
Well, so we can go to that one. Think of the next one. The next one, I'm going to try to sell you one. Pieces. So
you need to go to Texas for a chainsaw massacre. All right. Yep.
This one right here has, of course, my favorite movie killing device of all time,
the chainsaw. Yep.
Right.
I know how much you love them.
As somebody who has cut down more trees than you could count, who's had to replace more blades than you could know, who's actually sharpened chainsaw blades, I've always found the chainsaw to be the most ridiculous weapon ever utilized. Like a lot of things. I mean, like the lawnmower in Final Destination. I mean, that lawnmower is not going to kill that man. I mean, yeah, it's going to take his nose off, but like that wouldn't happen.
I'm sorry. I've got evidence that it will kill you, man.
Like
I've
that?
Video evidence.
Oh, I don't. Okay. Well, I mean, I'm sure. I mean, it can, but I mean, yeah, you can hit someone over the head with it. But so in this movie Pieces, this chainsaw is wielded like a lightsaber.
Oh God!
And it's a movie you have to sit down and be like, okay, I'm here for this. I will say this, Dan. Some of the acting in it is obviously 1980s Hamfest. They didn't get stars. It has the opening scene is actually really good. The opening scene is, I'm not going to tell you anything that happens in the opening scene. The ending the ending, because when you get to the ending, you realize how ridiculous all these things that are happening. Because what this is about, someone on a college campus in Boston is picking off young ladies one by one, and the police are finding these young ladies missing certain parts of their body. What is this killer doing with these bodies, these body parts? Why is it? Who is it assigned to pick? Is it someone on campus? Is it somebody in the staff? It's one of those 1980s, 70s slashers whodunits. And the police are baffled. And there's some real wonderful nuggets in this that I just love. So Dan.
Yeah.
The police, they go, we need to get someone on the inside. So they go to one of their undercover police officers who's a former tennis pro. You'll be the perfect person to fit in here in the school. You're going to be a tennis coach. You will be completely undercover.
Yeah.
And then the scene that they show her playing tennis, I mean, she is just, I'm not a tennis player, but she is hammering this ball. And it's one of those things where they show athletes that they shoot a basketball, but they actually can hit a basket. And the camera will cut away and you'll see the ball go in the hoop.
Yeah.
You do not see where these balls are going, because when she's hitting these balls, they are going to Venus. She is not volleying it whatsoever. I am dying watching this. There's another scene in the movie that inexplicably this man jumps her from out of nowhere, has a brief karate duel with her. She kicks him in the nuts and he walks away. And then one of the kids goes, "Oh, you met the karate professor." And the karate professor is played by Bruce Lee, L-E.
Oh, of course it is. Yep.
And he's in the movie for 2 minutes, just to jump out for a quick karate with a tennis pro undercover cop.
All right. So, like Blood Beach, this one has actually taken my interest. Also, Kimber's selling it for you as well, by the way, in the chat.
You got the last. You gotta stay to the end.
Yeah, I will.
It's ridiculous. They keep the school open while all these killings are happening. Nothing makes sense. Nothing that the police are doing makes sense. And I'm riveted, and I'm loving every minute of it.
I'm sold. I'm sold. Absolutely. Yep. Only because I know how much I know how much you hate chainsaws. So for you to recommend a chainsaw movie, or at least talk about a chainsaw movie, it has to be at least partly ridiculously fun.
It's ridiculous.
And that's what I want. Yeah, okay. I actually did like Blood Beach. I thought it was great. Even though the version I watched had no subtitles and I could barely understand a goddamn thing the police officer was saying, the Italian police officer. I could not understand a single word he was saying. Paulie, yeah. I enjoyed Blood Beach. But I will enjoy Pieces, I think. I'm going to hunt that down and definitely watch it. Thank you, Ned. Are they your only two?
Just two for today. I know we had a tight itinerary. I'm trying to get a pack a lot in today.
Yep. All right. Okay. Well, maybe I will check out, because look, I've got the rest of the afternoon off, so I'm probably looking at. I'm either going to watch some movies or play Hogwarts Legacy, and I don't think I'm in the mood to play a game, so I think I'll just throw a couple movies on, and some trashy movies from the 80s sounds perfect. So now it's recommendation time. You go first.
That's my recommendation to you.
Really?
Yeah,
Pieces.
I wanted you to pick one of those. I knew which one you're going to pick.
You knew I was going to pick Pieces?
Yeah.
Sweet. All right, done. Well, I'm looking forward to that then. I can do that. Look, Lyle's also thumbing up Sand, so maybe Dan needs to make that as a double feature this afternoon.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you...
Sand.
Sorry?
I'll watch the Sand. I wanted to, as we said in the intro, maybe Kimba missed it, but we wanted to walk away with a recommendation from our chat too.
True, we did. So maybe Sand is that one. Now, I have two movies I want to recommend to you, and whatever you don't pick this time, I'm going to give to you next time. So your choices are either a gory slasher film with a social message, or a very strange movie from a famous director.
I'll go with the famous director. I'm slasher is not always my favorite, even though I just recommended Pieces. But oh boy, getting messages hammered, that's sometimes worse than even found.
They're very subtle. No, the message is very subtle in that film. It's not that bad. Yeah.
Okay.
So
give me the director one.
All right, beautiful. Now, I'm going to test Kimber's knowledge of directors here. It's from Joko Anwar, which is an Indonesian director. The movie is from 2010, and it is easily one of his weirdest movies. It's called The Forbidden Door, and it is possibly one of the best Indonesian horror movies you will see because it is so weird.
I saw it.
Bullshit, really?
You told me. You did one of your recommendations, remember?
I did, but you actually watched it.
I watched it.
Shit.
And I had I found some of I found the content to be also a little bit off-putting. We talked about that real quick. With the fetuses.
Yes. Damn it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then you have to have the other one then.
But I gotta say, I walked away liking the movie.
Good. Okay. Well, then you take the other one then. And I hope you haven't seen this one. It is around the same time. I think it's from 2010, 2013. It's from Hong Kong, and it's called Dream Home.
Okay.
Please tell me you've seen that.
I don't think so. What year is it?
Let me have a look. Dream Home or Dream House? Could be called Dream House, actually.
This 2010?
No, Dream Home, 2010. Yep.
I haven't seen this one. Okay.
You haven't? Beautiful. It stars the very gorgeous Josie Ho, who is a daughter of a very famous Hong Kong producer. And I love this film. It is extremely gory. So be prepared for that. Now, if you can't find it, let me know and I will point you in the right direction. Although if you found the other movie that we talked about earlier yesterday when we were texting each other, I think you'll be able to find this one pretty easily.
Understood.
Kimber says he's seen it, so that's great. Lyle's also suggesting that we should check out either Strange Darling or a movie called The Resurrected, which is a Lovecraft adaptation. Lovecraft movies. That's really weird.
I like Lovecraft.
I've never gotten into any of his stuff. Maybe I should.
Yeah. I love Cthulhu stuff. I like Hellboy, Mike Mignola. I like those comic books quite a bit. I did see Strange Darling. I have to say I kind of got where it's going early on, and I like the swing, but I think when I went to see it, it had a lot of hype on it, and unfortunately, when you go to watch a movie and there's expectations are right here, it's easy to be disappointed. When the expectations are here, it's easy to surpass them.
Is it 2024?
Yeah.
Nothing is what it seems when a twisted one-night stand spirals into a serial killer's vicious murdering spree.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. All right then. Okay, damn it, I've got a lot of homework.
That's got a bit of a kind of a Tarantino type of pacing. They kind of time jump a bit on you.
Oh, I don't mind too bad.
I think it starts with like chapter 3.
Okay, that's not too bad. Look, I've got no objections with the way that movies like that are formatted. So we've kind of come to the end, but I'm happy to go for another couple minutes if we definitely want to get the chat going between Lyle and Kimber, you and myself, and anyone else who joins us. It says there's a couple people online, but it says there's more than a couple people online, but only a couple people are chatting. So if there's a mysterious other person wants to also pop in a message, feel free to, because join the party. That's what this is all about. Even though I'm as sick as a dog and probably just want to settle in and watch Pieces now and then probably Sand later on.
I am so excited for you to tell me. I just really want to get your reaction to the movie for sure.
Beautiful. I'm looking forward to it now because I did like Blood Beach. There was, I didn't realize it was going to be a creature feature, which was good. I kind of like creature feature.
The ending of Blood Beach.
Oh shit.
It felt almost anticlimactic in a way because
Didn't it set itself up for a sequel?
potentially, but I mean, I'll have to check out The Sand. I don't know if that's supposed to be a sequel, the one that Lyle and Kimba are recommending, but I love the fact that it doesn't believe it had a sequel. I just really, the ending of it was cool because a lot of movies kind of leave you with that sort of, oh no, something's still out there. But this movie almost said, no, these guys not only effed up, but because they lit the fuse too early, because that bumbling cop just jumped on it. But it appears that it scattered it and spread, and now it's more rampant.
Yeah, so that's why I was probably under the impression that they were leaving it open for a sequel. Kim was saying it's more of a remake, so maybe they've tightened up that ending then. Let's have a look. Don't spoil it, Kimba, although he's kind of spoiled this bit in Dream Home for you. It's a stab, put it that way. It's a stab.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, I am the Arty Dance, and that gentleman to my right is NeddKnight. You have been watching Sunday Night Horror Chat Live, the May 18th edition here on Shockmania, with a replay to come on Rumble and Odyssey a little bit later on. Thank you so much for joining in, as always. Ned, do you have any parting words before we leave?
Thanks for joining us, nerds. Talk to you next time.
Beautiful. And he means nerds in the lovingest way.
I mean, look at my background.
Exactly. Well, mine's not the greatest yet, but I'll get to that one day. I promise. All right, everyone, watch lots of movies. Let us know next time in the chat. And as always, we will catch you next
later.
time. See you later, everyone.